All right, let's start with what happened last night. I mean, the Baker performance, and there's a Texans tie-in here in a moment, but the Baker performance is one of the most impressive things I think I've ever seen, given the context of he was on the team for less than 2 days. He didn't even have a true practice. It was a walkthrough on Wednesday. He didn't get to L.A., he said on the postgame last night, until 9 p.m. I think he said he touched down in Los Angeles Tuesday night. So what he did last night was incredible. That might be the worst loss, though, of the year for the Las Vegas Raiders. It's bad enough they lost to Jeff Saturday in their first ever, in his first ever game as a head coach when he was on ESPN days prior. But now you lost to Baker Mayfield with less than 2 days being on a new team. I mean, I think the Vegas Raiders have the two worst losses of the year, and last night's probably worse because there was some talk about them maybe running the table. Maybe they figured some things out. They can make a run and steal the last playoff spot in the AFC. Now they're done, and major questions surround the quarterback, of course, and more importantly, they surround this head coach, Josh McDaniels.
One guy went for 230, a touchdown, led a drive to get them into position to have a chance to then win the game, then led a game-winning drive that was, 98 yards in less than 2 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
The other guy's Derek Carr.
He was awful yesterday.
Terrible.
Horrendous against a Rams team that is not even trying really that hard. I mean, I get that they're trying. They're professionals. They show up. But, Aaron Donald's out for the year. Matt Stafford's out. Jalen Ramsey, his level of give a crap changes from play to play. And they have this lead over the Rams, and they just squander it. And they've got some nice defensive players, and they just squander it in this game. This is a pathetic showing from a team that was in the playoffs a year ago and was a couple of completions away from sending the eventual AFC champions home in their first playoff game.
What a collapse for the Raiders last night. And yeah, it felt like they had turned a corner. They had won 3 in a row going into that game. They were starting to show up on those in the hunt graphics on NFL broadcast, and then to lose to that team with Baker Mayfield there for less than 48 hours before kickoff, that's as bad as it gets for the Raiders. And it felt like Josh McDaniels had kind of coached his way off the hot seat a little bit. Maybe the Raiders and Mark Davis were looking for excuses to keep McDaniels there beyond his first year, because you never want to fire a coach after one season, right? You try to find reasons to not do that. And maybe over the last 3 weeks, he had eased the stress and ease some tension out there in Vegas. But after last night, it feels like he is directly on the hot seat once again. An inexcusable loss for Vegas. And yeah, they are done. Stick a fork in them. They are out of the playoff picture in the AFC.
Now, with that all being said, Cody, you brought this up, so I'll start with you. What did that performance by Baker last night reveal in a negative way about the Houston Texans?
Look how easy it is to play football sometimes. Look how easy it is sometimes to just play football. The way it's designed, have the quarterback go out there, play loose, play easy, throw the ball around, get it to anybody and everybody. Guys that were making plays last night for the LA Rams, Ben Skoranek, Tutu Atwell, Van Jefferson. Guys that barely get drafted in your fantasy football league are out there making key plays and key moments for the LA Rams. And I get that Sean McVay is an offensive genius, and I get that he's one of the best coaches in the National Football League, and something like this can pop up really only under a handful of coaches. But everything it felt like the Rams were doing last night, especially in that final drive, it looked like it was easier to do than basically every time the Houston Texans take the field. This organization makes everything look so freaking hard. It goes back to Bill O'Brien, where he acted like you had to be a Mensa member to understand his offense, and that you couldn't play guys right away on offense, and you couldn't indoctrinate rookies into the way that you needed to, because you couldn't trust them early on, because everything was just so difficult and so hard, and they just couldn't throw a freaking crossing route. And then it carried on to the way that this franchise handles things off the field. Like, how hard do you have to make it? Trading Jadeveon Clowney, how hard is that? Trading for Laramie Tunsil and not throwing in a bonus second-round pick for no reason, how hard is that? Well, the Texans make it look hard. Everything about this organization, hiring a freaking general manager, the last time they hired one, was hard. It took Jack Easterby standing outside Cal McNair's house to hire Nick Caserio when he was clearly the most qualified candidate on the entire market. You talk to Korn Ferry, you waste money on them. You have an advisory panel that includes Tony Dungy, to the point where Dungy wants nothing to do with you after you've embarrassed yourself in the way that you handled things. The quarterback doesn't want to be a part of the franchise. And then just this season, everything's hard. Defense is hard. Offense is hard. Special teams was hard last week. The kicker can't kick the ball. Like, the only guy that makes things look easy is the long snapper and the punter.
Yep.
Those are the only two guys that make things look easy on this franchise, and it's been this way for years. Like, we're coming up on a decade that everything has been hard for the Houston Texans. Can they just find a way to make things look easy for 3-4 weeks in a row? Like, even the downtrodden Raiders, whose season has gone to hell in a handbasket, and they need to fire their coach probably. They made it look easy for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The last time the Texans made it look easy for 3 weeks, Gary Kubiak was the coach. Everything just looks hard with this franchise. They make everything so hard with this franchise.
Yeah, my two main takeaways, and I agree with you, Cody, but what I got from watching that game last night, number one, coaching matters. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in football. You give Pep Hamilton 2 days to work with Baker Mayfield. What the hell do you think the Texans' offense looks like? Hell, he's had a full 2 years to work with Davis Mills.
And he's worse than where he was last year.
Yeah, Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, and they both suck. So coaching matters. I know the Rams aren't having the season that they wanted to have, that they expected to have, but having a good coach allows you to do what the Rams did last night, and that's why the Texans should be doing whatever they possibly can to bring in a new coach. I know there's not a Sean McVay that's available out there, but you could find somebody who might be the next Sean McVay, and you sure as hell know that you don't have that with Lovie Smith and with Pep Hamilton. And then in regards to Baker Mayfield, that was claimed off waivers 2 days ago, and he played. I'm thinking about Eno Benjamin, and I'm thinking about Amari Rodgers. We were pretty excited when the Texans put waiver claims in on those dudes, and we're like, hey, man, those guys have a chance to play. Like, nobody behind Dameon Pierce is doing a good job in the backfield. Benjamin's proven he's been in the league for a couple of years. He started some games. He's put up some numbers. He could be a good fit to be a number 2 back here. Hey, Amari Rodgers, Brandon Cooks seemingly doesn't want to play anymore. Nico Collins has dealt with injuries. Nobody else in that wide receiver room is any good. Why not give that dude a chance? Benjamin was claimed on November 15th. He was active for the first time last week. He was on the field for 4 plays. Didn't get a touch. Amari Rodgers claimed on November 16th. Active for the first time this past week. Didn't get a touch or a target. Those guys have been here for weeks, and they can't see the field. And it's not like there's good players in front of them. Yet the Rams, the team that just won the freaking Super Bowl, gets a guy in, and then in 2 days, he gets to play, and he plays really freaking well. Well, why are Benjamin and Amari Rodgers not playing? Why the hell did you bring those guys in if you didn't plan on playing them for the first month after they got here? Those are two things I took away from watching the Rams pull off that upset last night.
And just to add on to the main points of your guys', takeaways there, it just shines a light on just how far away this Texans team currently is from having a chance. Like, you can improve the talent if you're Nick Caserio, but if you fail at hiring another head coach again, what's the point? Because we've seen it. Like, look at the New York Giants this year. They got a very similar roster to what they had last year. They were a joke last year. They're bringing Brian Daboll, and he's maximizing that roster to the best of its ability. Like, coaching really matters, and that's why it's concerning if they do, in fact, give Caserio a shot here to hire another coach. What confidence level do you have that he could find a coach that can maximize the talent added to this team? Because they went from David Culley to Lovie Smith, and there is more talent on this roster overall, and the team has been significantly worse in several categories, and just the eye test telling you that they're worse as well. So they're far away right now, and you see a game like that, and you're going, man, like, are we ever going to have a coach or coaching staff that can do what Sean McVay and his staff did last night? I understand why a lot of Texans fans doubt Caserio being the guy to make that right hire.
And look, there's been times in this organization's history where, like Case Keenum got out of a deer stand and then I think beat the Ravens on a Sunday, or got close to beating the Ravens or whatever it was. And that was 2014 when Bill O'Brien was here for the first year. Like, there's been times where, like, small things, but, like, it's almost like organizational chaos has led to everything being difficult for the Texans. And you look at this offseason, and there really is a chance to just make things look a little bit easier. Just go out there. You have the number 1 overall selection. You have a lot of money in free agency. Before any of that happens, you got to figure out who your next coach is, because it's not going to be Lovie Smith, because God knows he makes everything look hard, including talking into a microphone after the game is over and before the game is played that week. So just go out there and hire the absolute consensus best coach. Don't do any of this, like, Nathaniel Hackett crap. You saw where that got, Denver. Don't do any of this, like, try to overthink it, outside the box crap. No. Just go hire what everybody, like, the most sought after coach. Just go out there and just keep up in the number. Just keep up in the number until he tells you yes. Maybe it's D'Amico Ryans. Maybe it's the guy that helps out Sirianni in Philadelphia. Whoever it is. Just keep up. Just make it look easy. Make it look easy. Go out there, hire the best coach, and then start making everything look easy after that because, my God, it is so hard to just operate in a normal way for the Houston Texans, and it's not that hard. The Rams showed us that last night.
Already got a Champ of the Day nomination from an 832 number. Would like to nominate the Texans being so hard for Champ of the Day. Not wrong.
I wouldn't call them hard.
Hard to watch.
There you
perhaps. Coming up, we just mentioned Lovie Smith. We mentioned this Texans coaching staff. Which NFL teams are also going to be in the market for a new head coach? Is the Texans' job still one of the most attractive jobs? We'll talk about that here on the Wheelhouse. Keep it here. You're listening to ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button down below and, of course, subscribe to my channel. And if you're a Houston sports fan, listen to ESPN Houston 97.5 FM or 92.5 FM weekdays from 3 to 7 every afternoon.